Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Movie Bucket here on Screen Stealers. Hope you got your popcorn, maybe a soft drink, perhaps even a soft pretzel. And it's time to talk about another movie. I'm Brooke, and I'm just really happy to be here today talking about a movie I really like, because how could I ever imagine we were going to talk about it today?
Lord.
Well, and hi, I am River, and just like Saul, I want to go home. After watching this movie, I would like to go home, please.
I want to go home. I want to lay
Take
down
me.
on the bed. I want to lay down on the bed.
My favorite color is blue, and my favorite type of music is jazz. I'm just kidding.
Please
Get it ready, baby. I want my 20 minutes.
give me my 20 minutes immediately.
I want my $2.
Hola, I am Eduardo, and I don't know about you, but I've never seen a strawberry before. I have never seen a strawberry before.
Well, I'm David Healy. Hey, watch the hell where you're stepping.
Oh my God. You know what? We're all going to hell. Our seat is warm, and I am ready.
Oh, hold on.
It's gonna be fun.
The waves part and the water is warm.
Oh, the oceans are dying. The planktons are dying.
Yeah, so as a friendly reminder, it is officially the third week of March Madness month here on Movie Bucket. And out of my bracket, we are talking about the 1972 classic, 1973, excuse me, Soylent Green. Starring a bunch of people you've probably never heard of, alongside Charlton Heston and Edward G. Robinson. But I'm just going to say, this is mostly the Charlton Heston show. But, yeah. Sci-fi movie, but honestly more of a crime drama than a sci-fi movie. But it is still a sci-fi movie. If you are, I'm going to give you the off-ramp now. If you are not spoiled for Soylent Green and you would like to remain that way before you watch it,
Do not watch.
go. It's a 90-minute movie. Come back. That is all I'm telling you. Because there is no way to talk about this movie in any sort of review form without spoiling one of the... I'm going to say nowadays it's not even that well kept of a secret. But if you are somehow not spoiled on this movie, leave, go watch it, and come back. That is what it's 90 minutes.
Literally,
on YouTube.
it would last
You can go
5
rent
minutes.
it for $5. It's rentable on YouTube for $5 in the US.
It would
That
last
is-
5 minutes if we were not going to talk about, give that spoiler.
Can I say a hot take before we give it?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it hurts to know. As somebody who did not know the spoiler, I think I would have been fine. In fact, I think it might have been better if I knew.
I will say, as someone that was spoiled, if you are not spoiled, watch it unspoiled. Absolutely, because it does absolutely affect the viewing experience.
Okay.
Absolutely,
As someone
it does.
who has watched this movie both spoiled and unspoiled, it kind of has a bit of that Sixth Sense energy. Like, you watch it the first time and you get the twist, and I'll be real, my 12-year-old mind was blown. And then you watch it a second time and you're like, oh, so they were hinting at this multiple times throughout the movie. Okay. And it has that kind of energy to it. So
Let me say something
personally,
as someone
I would
that
say-
watched knowing, like I knew what it was, but also if you don't know the spoiler of the movie, but you know what is going on currently with what people like to call the elite or whatever, like if you know about anything about any file, this will not be like you will clock it within 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Like even if you don't know. With what we know now, it's kind of, if you know, you know.
I'll just say this. If you would like to watch the movie spoiler free, hop off and come back. Let's just put it that way. Personal recommendation. I would say try to watch this movie unspoiled if possible. If you don't really care, that's fine too. We're just going to talk.
It's still going to be good. It's still going to be a good movie if you're spoiled or not. Like, I think.
So, first watch for all of my fellow panelists today. I got David a first watch this month. I'm very happy about that.
It'll be my only one.
Yeah, and I've seen this movie a few times. However, I didn't realize this until last week when we were talking about Best in Show. I haven't watched this movie in like 7 or 8 years, which feels weird because in my mind I was like, oh yeah, this was like last time I watched this, I was a senior in high school, and then I had to remember, oh crap, I graduated high school in 2018. That was 8 years ago. Oh dear God,
pre-2022.
Oh no.
Yep.
So it's 2026 and I feel old. Beside the point. I'm just going to go ahead and get out and say this. I was vaguely worried that this movie would not hold up for me. And I have never been happier to be wrong in my life. Well, to be worried for a stupid reason, because I still think this movie is great. I still had a really great time watching it again. And I'm really excited to hear how all of you felt about it, because I know how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say, I was really excited to watch this because I kind of knew what it was about, and I knew enough, and I was curious to see how they were going to tell that story. There are like small things, because I'm also considering when this movie was made and all of that and the resources available back then. You know what I mean? I'm not going to hold it to the same standards of, like, for example, the fake blood. I can't. Like, it's just the ketchup fake blood. I can't.
Red.
Like, we
love the strawberry syrup. You know, it's doing its work.
Yeah.
The strawberry jam, exactly. Yeah. That, like, in the fight scenes, like that was not, you know, like in technical, like small technical aspects, it was not great. But I think the story the way that they tell it is so compelling and it's so interesting that it didn't matter that much, but it's impossible not to notice a few of the so-called flaws, you know?
Yeah. This movie is definitely not flawless, but what it is trying to do, it does it very well. I think it does a very good job at building tension as well. And just like creating this sense of urgency and anxiety throughout the movie. And like this sense of like, we need to like figure out what's going on. And that's why I say a little bit that like, if you could watch it unspoiled, you definitely should. Because for me, all of those little things, I immediately clocked them and I was like, oh, that's part of the spoiler. Oh, that's part of the spoiler. But without, like, if I had not known, I think the tension would have been absolutely incredible. It would have actually, like, been one of my favorite movies. I think that's like a sci-fi movie. What it does very well. And the commentary that it puts out into the world, it does very well. So, yeah, it sucks that it's kind of hits a little close to home. It sucks that it does.
Too real right now, a little bit.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it's a little too real. Like, you would think it's so funny that, like, in the 70s, this was like, let's go for something out there, something really crazy. And now that we're here, it's like, well, it's not that crazy.
Is it art imitating life or life imitating art?
Yeah, truly. It's a little, like, unfortunate and, like, it's jarring as well, which I think it's to its benefit. So, a huge props to this movie. That's all I'll say right now.
It aged well, right? I think is
yes, absolutely, absolutely, it does.
Yeah, I like this movie. I'll say that much to start. But I had conversations with my older roommate, like, oh, you don't know the twist? You don't, like, it's such a big part of pop culture. Like it's up there with like Star Wars quotes and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I do know it. Maybe I do know it. So I went into it watching it. I actually didn't clock the twist at all. But when it came, I didn't recognize the line. So no, it wasn't even spoiled in the, I guess he pointed out that they reference it in Drop Dead Gorgeous, which I have seen. But for me, I was like, oh, another thing that does this twist. Like one of many, many, many things that does this twist. So my mind was not blown by it. And I wish it had been. Like I wish it was something like completely unexpected. But I think it's one of those things where I wish the twist element of it hadn't been so hyped up to me going into it. Then I think, like, to me, it didn't even feel like a twist. It just felt like a new element, you know. But I'm sure if I watched this in 1973, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
I will say,
with all the information we have now about, like, it's a little more obvious in a way.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say personally. So the first time I watched this movie was, I believe, I was 12, right? And I actually had a really unique way of watching this movie for the first time. I think I watched this at a book club at my library. We had a movie week once a month, and this was one of the movies we watched. So it was a bunch of like teenagers and teenagers watching this sci-fi crime movie from the 70s. We all were obsessed. We all loved it. We all thought it was incredible. And I must say, my mind was absolutely blown by this twist the first time I watched it. Now, you'll note that we keep on saying the twist. That is intentional, in case you didn't heed the original warning to leave before the spoiler.
Eventually it will come out, so you have time. We'll get you a film.
I have a timer. I will put a timer of 30 seconds so that you can leave, and then I will immediately say it, okay?
Yeah.
So you have 30 seconds to leave this video, starting now. You have 30 seconds.
Say the exact quote.
Yeah. So for the record, though, a lot of this movie, I think the thing that I have to think about is that when it came out, there really wasn't anything like this movie that had been made before. In terms of like on a bigger scale, there were obviously like smaller sci-fi movies, but like the whole dystopian future thing wasn't a really big like societal thing at this point. And then of course the twist, which is that
Soylent Green is people.
Soylent Green is ocean's dying, the plankton's dying. It's people. Soylent Green is made out of people. They're making our food out of people. Next thing, they'll be breeding us like cattle for food. You've got to tell them. You've got to tell them.
Hand up in air, covered in blood. Soylent Green is people.
A quick comment about the breeding us like cattle. Just a quick. I see the anti-abortion movement as very that energy. I just wanted to put that out there. Like, we need supply. You know what I mean? But like, move on.
Yeah, you're so real.
It's a little too real.
Yeah, and so that I will say that specific line reminded me of a book that's called Tender is the Flesh, which is basically that. It's basically people are being bred like cattle for food. So if you like this movie, maybe you like that book. Just recommendation. Just saying, by the way. You can keep going, by the way.
Yeah, for some reason, I remember this ending a little bit differently. I remember it having a little bit more of something after the line. It doesn't. It literally, Soylent Green is people and movie. Like, movie just is over. For some reason, my brain remembered that, like, he was getting carted off to one of those waste facilities at the end. It doesn't happen. I don't know why. I think that would have been crazy and absurd, and I would have loved it.
You saw the alternate ending.
Yeah, probably. But it was one of those like little shop
fiction.
horrors, like, oh, but what happens if the plant doesn't die? Have fun with that. But spoilers for Little Shop of Horrors. I'm sorry. But the alternate ending of Little Shop of Horrors that you can only find on YouTube. 10 out of 10. But
what's funny though is, sorry. What's funny is, from what I understand, this is a situation kind of like The Mist, the movie version, compared to the book, where the ending is just completely different than the book. But it kind of makes the movie what it is. Because guess what? In the book, Soylent Green is not people. It's not. It's soy and lentils. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I did a little bit of research and discovered that, and I was like, Oh wow. Yeah, it probably would have been Soylent Red if they had thought about that in the book.
Mm,
Yeah,
Well,
probably.
the crazy thing too is that Soylent Green, if I remember correctly, isn't even a thing in the book. Because it's like they don't have like Soylent Red, Soylent Yellow, Soylent Green, or anything like that. It's just they eat Soylent, and that's just what they do. And the book isn't even. It's called Make Room, I think. And they changed the title because there was a TV series called Make Room for Daddy, which is a terrible title. I'm just going to say that.
Ew.
That aired in the 50s, and they wanted to avoid confusion with that. I have never.
But there's a
heard
lot of furniture in that. If you know what I
Oh my
mean.
God! Don't even.
Okay, so let's go ahead and I want to address that because that was something I wanted to talk about first and foremost, right? I fucking love every single second of the portrayal of furniture in this movie. And I know people are going to think that's controversial. And you know what? I have read the Letterboxd comments about that. And I'm just going to say this. It is a dystopian society where only the rich and elite have any sort of access to anything, really. And they are literally using and abusing. I mean, granted, we only see witness furniture in this movie, but we only see the one apartment's worth of furniture, period, at all in this film. So we don't know if there are men that are being used in the same capacity. I would argue that there probably are, and we just don't see them. I think it makes a lot more sense from a film perspective if that's the case. But I like the way it's portrayed in this movie. It feels really realistic. Now, granted, do I like it in terms of like what
I was gonna say like I don't enjoy it, but I think it's well done. I think it's
I
thing,
think
right?
it makes sense, and I think it actually adds a lot to this universe. Because to me, I'm like, okay,
because it makes sense. Because when the people start to lose rights, guess who's in the front line of losing those rights? It's women, baby. It's women. You know what I mean? Like that's always how it happened. To me, this movie, like, of course, this came before, right? And art is like inspired by other things that came before. Whatever, nothing is original. Whatever. But it gives me a little bit of Hunger Games, a little bit of Handmaid's Tale, a little bit of like all of the famous dystopian worlds that we have into one, kind of like elements of all of them like mushed together, pun intended. But yeah, I think I like Brooke was saying, I don't like it in the sense that like it doesn't make me feel good. I just think it makes sense for the narrative, for the world, and it was very well done. And it took me a little bit to figure out what was going on. Like in the beginning, when the detective was like arriving and he was asking about furniture, I was like, what do you do? I was like, what? And then when they started mentioning more and more, I was like, oh, okay. And you know what? I can't even be mad because I would be mad if it was badly done. You know what I mean? Then I could be mad. But it makes absolute sense. Like, I don't think in this dystopian world, if that was not an element of it, I think it would lack sense. It wouldn't make sense for that to not be happening. So,
I also love
not controversial.
I also love that they chose the term furniture. Because it would have been, I think it really would have been easier to use like a more old-timey term for it, like concubine, something of that nature. But the idea of, even when the person who owns this apartment dies, no, they just get to decide whether you stay in the apartment or not. Like, that's crazy. And it's one of the things I really like.
Obvious because it's like oh my God.
Objectification.
Whatever. So they're calling them an object, like a literal object. So like that, it just makes like language is important. You know what I mean? It makes sense. Even calling them whores would be like too nice. You know what I mean? Too humanizing. They need to be dehumanized and seen as objects.
Yeah, so. You're not a human being. You're just something that comes with the apartment. And just I can choose whether you choose and I can choose whether you stay in my apartment and I like you to look at, or I can just throw you away and just ruin you for life, which is like, as we've stated, it's very good for things like this in this dystopian world, because of course, if rich white men are controlling the world, of course they're going to have call girls right at their door just waiting for them to like do as they please. Of course they are.
Of course.
It would not make sense if it didn't. Of course it's happening. And so I agree with you guys. I think it's very well done. And I think it adds
horrible.
It's horrible, obviously.
Yeah.
It's very horrible that these women have to go through this, and the way that they're treated in this movie is absolutely horrible. But it absolutely makes a lot of sense, and it adds a lot to this world. And it makes it a little bit more believable.
Yeah, what's funny to me though, I don't know if anybody else thought about this, but like being a fan of Big Brother, oftentimes women that are kind of boring on the show, especially if they're in a showmance, they're called furniture by fans. And so I kept thinking about that, and I know it's not intentionally correlated with this, but I kept thinking, I'm like, oh, is that actually like really sorry, Angela. I'm sorry that we ever called you furniture.
Oh my god.
I forgot about that.
No, because I have called Casey Clark furniture for years.
Yeah. You'll think twice before you do that next time, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, now I feel that.
I throw it at men too.
God.
For the record, I do throw it at men too, because
Yeah.
there have been plenty of men furniture in Big Brother.
But it is usually women that get called that, though, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's unfortunately true.
But I do also a couple other things that I think are really cool about just the set design of the bigger apartments too. I like how it still looks timelessly classy. Like they didn't try to like make it overtly sci-fi and like trying to make it this like futuristic apartment. It just looks like a nice fancy apartment, and it has aged pretty well. I also love this is the first movie ever to have a video game in it. I think that is super cool, and I don't know if anyone knew that.
I did. And it's
awesome.
the person who created the Atari apparently made this video game.
Oh my god.
So this is the first.
And like
film
the
to ever
machine
be
was
created.
also like, it was so like one of the things that I wrote on my notes, like of the, because I mentioned about the negative technical aspects of the movie that I noticed, but there's a lot of good ones too. Like the set design I thought was incredible, especially the retro futuristic one. But I think they also did a great job with like showing the difference between the two worlds. Like I think they did a great job with like the people in the stairs and all, like the other extreme was very well done. And the score I think was really good. I really like, especially like at the more like tense moments, I noticed this. Like usually when a score is like fine, you don't notice. Like it's either when it's like really bad or really good that you notice a score while you're watching a movie. And this is one that I noticed, and I was like, oh my god, this is really good, you know? But yeah, that apartment, like if I was her, like in that situation, I wouldn't want to leave either. You know what I mean? Cause like,
yeah, I
would I want to
cannot
be
blame
there?
her.
But like, what's the alternative?
She specifically, I want to say Leigh Taylor-Young did a very good job in this movie.
Oh yeah,
and I
Is that
feel
the
like
actress?
yes, that's her actress.
Cheryl.
Cheryl's actress.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cheryl's actress.
Very good.
I feel like her performance kind of gets overshadowed. I mean, one by Charlton Heston. You're with one of, especially of that time period, one of the most famous actors in Hollywood, and is the main character. So obviously, we're going to be talking about him a little bit more in a minute. But I like how she doesn't get dramatic about it. I like that she's just calm and relaxed and just tells him the truth pretty much the entire movie. And at first, when I first on this rewatch, I did think at first it's like they kind of got into bed together a little quick, didn't they? But then I thought about it and I'm like, no, they really didn't, because for her, this is just what she does. Like she doesn't care.
yeah.
And then for him, it's like, well, I mean, why wouldn't she? I see her as furniture. To him, this is the same as sitting down on a couch. So like, it kind of like
and he's also like the guy benefiting from the other men being so shitty that like he can be just a little shitty, and it's still it's like it's seen as like, oh, at least he doesn't beat me. You know what I mean? It's like, okay,
it's truly just like clearing the bar of bare minimum.
Yeah,
you do the bare minimum, and suddenly you're the hero of the story, and it's crazy. But yeah.
Like, even with Thorne, though, like, when we're talking about, does he do the bare minimum in this movie? In our societal context, absolutely not.
But in that, he's considered like a good guy. Yeah.
He does way more than the bare minimum in that societal construction. So it's kind of like the, you want it to, it's from the sociological perspective, you want to have a neutral lens to whatever you're looking at and examining. In that society, he seems like a pretty cool dude. To us, if this was a guy living in our world, no, fuck him. He's icky. But in this movie, I mean, we literally see basically the security dude at the apartment building just go upstairs and beat the crap out of 3 of these women in this apartment because he can.
Charles can choke, okay? Charles can fucking choke.
Yes.
But it's that alongside, when we meet the new tenant of the apartment and he's talking to Charles, he's like, I want to have XYZ. I like to sleep late in the morning and I want a big breakfast. And at first I'm like, okay, you're creepy, but whatever. And then he goes, and I want to I have guests over 4 times a week and we like a girl who can have fun. Are you a fun girl? When he said, are you a fun girl? I felt the worst shiver run down my back. I'm like, ugh.
I was disgusted. I was mad.
But it's so real though. Like that's the thing. Like I am mad, but like it's also so realistic and so like it's just well done. Something else that I noticed, like in the beginning when they were introducing like the Thorne and Saul, like he was like pedaling to get energy, all of that. I was like, oh, this is too real. But one thing that I noticed is that like when those like older shows, movies, whatever, they from this time, they always thought that like by the 2020s we would not be eating real food, but like the way that they imagined it was like pills or like dehydrated stuff or like what would be like astronaut food or whatever. And like they didn't, and the thing is they were right, but it just looks different because it's not the way that they envision visually, but conceptually it is fake food. It is not real. It is just chemicals put together. It's not food. You know what I mean? Like I think about that and I'm like, oh, I'm like, did they put that imagery in the movies so that we would grow up associating fake food with looking like that, and then not associate things that look and taste like food to not be food? You know what I mean? I'm like, it just makes me think. I'm like, I don't know. We will never know, maybe, but it just makes me think. I'm like, that's interesting. That's suspicious. That's weird.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
It's weird. Anyway.
Suspicious, don't be suspicious.
One thing about me, I will always be suspicious. Trust and believe.
I also would like to just go ahead and ask, because this is the one thing that seems to get people, like, in terms of if they find this movie like interesting or stupid, is the riot scene with the scooper trucks.
Look, it gagged me for sure.
They could
Because
just
it's
jump
like,
off.
And people do.
Simply
There are
jump
people who
off.
do jump off, and you see
some
them jump off
but some people just stand there. They just stand
menacingly.
there. Menacingly. He's just standing there. Menacingly.
Menacingly.
Truly. And like people are just not running away from the scooper. They're just like standing there, and you see a couple people running away, but like no one that's like in close proximity to the scooper is anywhere near running away. What?
They don't really have anywhere to go. They're like anyway.
Well, they're all bunched together in like a big pile of people.
I guess so.
But,
But
like,
It was. I didn't think it was like when you if you describe it to someone, it is funny. Like it sounds funny, but within the context of the movie and like how immersed I was in the story, like now talking about it, I'm laughing. But like when I was watching, it was actually like I was feeling stuff in my body. I was just like I was tensing up. Like it felt very real. That's the thing, because like it is funny in a way, but within the context it's so real because it makes sense. They were literally being like shoved like trash, which is like it all makes sense with the story they're telling. And it was having the visuals was very jarring.
Yeah.
Especially the squishing. Oh my god.
Right. I was going to get into that because like I think one of the only parts that actually gagged me was you had the assassin just shooting at random ass people, which there were a few women that
he was
randomly
trying to get the guy. He was trying to shoot at Thorne, but he was just missing.
Kept missing, yes.
Killing other people.
Well, no, because Thorne would like. I hate saying this. Thorne kind of human shielded a few of these people.
Oh, he does.
No, absolutely.
Not the first one. Not the first one, but the second one.
That first
sure.
woman was a genuine like accidental victim. The second one, absolutely, like
human shielded.
Thorne put him in front of the gun.
No, but when the assassin fell, I'm like, oh, I know what's about to happen. He's about to get scooped up. So I was expecting him to get scooped up, and instead it just smashes him, and I'm like, whoa.
And I will say,
like a
I know
fucking
we were
cockroach.
talking about the fake blood looking really bad in this movie, and it does. But I will say, I like the fact that they weren't afraid to just have a massive pool of blood coming out of this spot where this man was squished. Like, I think that was really cool. And again,
that they went there,
that's kind of gory for the 70s.
Yeah,
like, I'm pretty here for that.
I'll also say,
okay.
I want to touch on, because of the fake blood. I started a project back in 2021 where I started watching horror movies chronologically, starting in 1920. And I did like 1920 through 1960s in 1 year. And then I started doing 1 decade per year. And I've watched hundreds of movies. So I've got to see the evolution of fake blood and how awful it looked for years and years and decades. It really wasn't until like mid 80s that sometimes it started looking good. But I'm used to that kind of.
in black and white films because it wasn't.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That
makes
a lot of sense.
Go
thinking like at the beginning
Psycho.
was probably good, and then it got bad with color, and then it got good. It's like
Go watch the Alfred Hitchcock movie Psycho, because when you see the scene, we know what I'm talking about. When you see the scene and you see the blood going into
should we give 30-second warning?
30-second warning. 30-second warning. 30-second warning. You have 30 seconds to leave.
When you see the blood going into the shower drain in Psycho, which again, I'm not being specific as to how it happens. But when you see that happen, that looks, I'm going to say it, semi-realistic. If you colorized that scene, because people have done it, they have color corrected a lot of older movies to full color, and they did it to Psycho. Oh, it looks awful. Because I think that's literally just like chocolate syrup and a little bit of sugar to like pull in the shininess on it. So it looks bad. But in black and white, they didn't have to worry about the colors. So as long as it pulled in right, it looked good. So
very different shower scene than we got in this movie, where they're just like,
that circular shower. I like the set design. Every time we got a new like thing, I was like, oh my god, that bathroom. Oh, I love it. I love it.
One of the things that I want to touch on very quickly is Edward G. Robinson in this movie. So he was Saul, and this was his last movie role. This is actually a posthumous release for him.
He died January
Yeah, he died 3 months after this finished filming. He was a very prolific actor. Just for the record, he was in a lot of stuff. And the last scene they shot was the scene of his medical euthanasia. So when you really think about that, and it wasn't like he died suddenly. He had cancer and he knew it. He knew he was not long for the world. And
he was not really he was acting, but he was pulling from something very real.
Yeah.
In that moment. Yeah.
And
He
I'm just
knew
gonna go
that
ahead and say
nobody else knew.
no one else knew.
Oh.
He didn't tell anybody. He actually got an honorary Academy Award, and he found out like right before he passed away that he was going to receive that. He passed away right before the ceremony, so his wife ended up accepting it for him. But when you look, I'm just going to read what Charlton Heston said about about all of that. He knew while we were shooting that we did not, that he was terminally ill. He never missed an hour of work, nor was late to a call. He was never less than the consummate professional he had been all his life. I'm still haunted, though, by the knowledge that the very last scene he played in the picture, which he knew was the last day's acting he would ever do, was his death scene. I know why I was so overwhelmingly moved playing it with him. And I'm just going to go ahead and say, for me, besides the ending quote, which I will say, it has permeated pop culture to the point where I feel like once you know it, you can't unknow it. The scene, the medical euthanasia scene in this movie is one of my favorite scenes in cinema, like period. I find it to be so moving, so beautiful. And in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty simple. It doesn't try to be anything crazy or over the top.
It's not showy.
It's not. It's just.
But it's very impactful. Yeah, I agree.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. And for added context, they were friends. They had been in the 10 Commandments like 15 years before this. So it wasn't just like a random person that he was like acting with. It was somebody that he had a decade and a half invested in. And I guess he gave the eulogy at his funeral as well. So yeah, like knowing all that, I didn't know that obviously before I watched the film, but I read into it. But like that adds so much additional context that really makes that scene powerful. And what's interesting is like, I think that scene is super complicated because it's pretty political in the fact, like, should people be allowed to have this kind of choice for themselves? Because I don't know if it was played for like at the time as, wow, this is a bad thing. But today people could be like, you know what? Maybe this should be an option to more people.
Can I share my thoughts on that? Because I think that's interesting. Because my thought on it is, in the context, the thing is, why? It's the reason that the person is choosing to do that. I think it should be available for people that, for example, for whatever reason, like something really horrible, like that, because some people have a valid reason to not want to be alive anymore, but they don't want to take their own lives. You know what I mean? Like there are plenty of valid reasons for that, in my opinion. However, in the context of this movie, the people were doing that because living was so unbearable, not because of just life, but because it was the system made it that way. You know what I mean? It was relief. Like finally I get to rest. You know what I mean? It wasn't it really is, to me, it's the why behind it.
Yeah. And I also think it's very interesting because of course we see that there's a problem of overpopulation in this world, and there's like so many people that people have to sleep on the stairs and stuff like that. So to me, it made a lot of sense that in a world like this, medical euthanasia would be so easy, because if you are feeding people like dead bodies in Soylent Green, and you have a problem
and barely feeding them
and barely feeding them
well.
at that, and you also have a problem of overpopulation, 1 + 1 = 2, you just give a medical euthanasia as like candy, and you got more bodies to feed the people that are still living. So I thought it was super, super interesting the fact that it was just so simple and it was so casual as well. It wasn't like this big moment of like, this is a sad moment, let's say goodbye or whatever. This was just, hey, how are you? So what's your favorite color? What's your favorite music? Okay, you have 20 minutes, let's go. Very casual, very simple. It was jarring, but at the same time, so believable, which makes it a little like, I don't know. It was wild.
It's a little too real, because I was gonna say, like, I think it's for the US, for example, where people need, like, it takes so much money to do anything medically. I think people should have a choice of, if they don't have, like, if they have something that is gonna make them have so much pain and they don't have the money to treat it, they should be able to just choose not to suffer. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna make people, like, healthcare so unattainable, at least give us an out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be my first choice, but like, I would prefer if you just had healthcare. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I have to say though, as much as I love this entire movie, and I really do love this entire movie, I think this is the scene that makes me feel the most in this movie. Because, and I know this is like the emotional core of the movie. Like, I'm not going to say it's not, but when I look at the surrounding circumstances of this movie are extremely powerful. It has a lot it wants to say, and I think it accomplishes what it wants to say, and it says it in a really compelling way. But I think this is the scene, like that scene when he, you know, he's lying on that bed, he's just looking at all of these beautiful pictures, right? And, you know, Thorne shows up and he basically strong arms the guy into keeping the thing open. I mean, basically, he just does. And we get to have that little bit of that conversation. And the entire movie, Saul has just been telling him the world used to be beautiful. The world used to be XYZ. You know, there used to be all of this gorgeous things in the world. Thorne doesn't know what he means by that. We haven't seen him be like, he wasn't alive. He didn't see it.
He heard about it, but he didn't have visuals for it. Yeah.
And when he's getting to see it, and Saul's like, and I made it my tagline for a reason. Saul says, I told you. And Thorne, how could I ever imagine? Right? Because he doesn't, I like that he doesn't say, you're right, it's so gorgeous. It's literally more beautiful than he could ever even think of, right? And the rest of this movie, visually, is the equivalent of mud, right? And it's supposed to be, right? That is the intention of the film. It is supposed to be drab and colorless and devoid of flavor and everything like that, because it makes that one scene feel so much more important. And it makes us kind of recognize, oh shit, what are we doing to the planet right now? Like, really? Because you can get all the environmental messages you want and hear everybody talking about whatever. This is one of the times that I have ever seen something and it legitimately made me consider that again after I looked at it. It doesn't happen very often, because so many times when you get an environmental message, it's like the Lorax. Very clearly, we need to plant more trees. Like, obviously. Yeah. Or like, you know, like it's this and like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Those are the only two properties I think that have ever made me legitimately double check and think about it more than like a surface level. Like, clearly we need to plant more trees. Clearly we need to work on our emissions levels. Clearly we need to stop punching a hole in the ozone layer. Like, obviously there are things that we need to be doing to fix the world that we are currently ruining. But I like that on top of, it's not even really an element in this movie, but the Gramercy Park tree sanctuary that we get this like 2-minute scene in. I love that is a thing in this world, that there are so few trees that we have turned this tiny little slice of a park into a tree sanctuary.
Yep.
No, it's beautiful.
You go ahead, David, because I have.
Yeah, I was just gonna quickly say, like, one little thing that I found amusing though was that their idea of like the greenhouse effect is having like a green haze in the sky. Like, I don't know if you all noticed it. It was like tinted green every time they were outside.
Like radiation.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's like if you put like a piece of like green saran wrap on top of the screen, and you just went.
It was Brett Summer. They were having a Brett Summer, David. Don't you know?
You and it's Brad Summer.
Now we're having a brat summer, spring, fall, and winter because it was always hot. Pretty much everywhere, it's gonna be hot. But
so I have a few things I wanted to say because I want to talk about Saul's character, and I want to start with what you were talking about, Brooke, about what he was talking about. How could I imagine whatever he was like reminiscing of what the world used to be. It reminds us of how important it is to remember. Because in the sense of remembering history and like history being erased, and there's a reason why they don't want us to remember things or to know things. And also one thing that I noticed is like Saul was not happy. They had a conversation where Thorne was like, "Oh, we're doing fine," and then Saul was like, "We're not." Like he was like. That mentality, he was like, nobody cares, no one ever no one cares. Like if you keep thinking that everything is fine, you don't want to like it's fine. If everyone thinks it's fine, no one's gonna want to do anything to change it if it's fine. You know what I mean? And it's so important to have people that remember what it used to be because they show us that it's possible, that is a possible reality because it already existed before. Like it's very hard to imagine something new that has never existed. But when we have examples of things that have existed in the past and don't anymore, it's much easier to reimagine them and having that again because it's happened before. It's and also when he was talking about like tag yourself, I'm the old man saying back in my day, you know what I mean? Like very that I related to him so hard because when I'm driving around the city with my mom and I see an old house being taken down to have like for them to build a building is literally like Joni Mitchell said, they tear down paradise to build up a parking lot. It's very that I get sad when I see history being erased like in my city and just everywhere. The thing about the way the movie looks, like everything being gray, it's kind of how we live right now and everything being white and just washed out and where is the color. But he said, they were talking about back in my day and they were talking about people were always bad. Like there were always bad people, but the world was beautiful. Something like that he said, which is something that we, like me, at least, sometimes I think like, oh my God, people are so awful, whatever. People have always been awful. There have always been awful people. Since the beginning of humanity, always. Yeah. But the world was not always like this. So it's kind of like, I don't know, this movie made me think so much, but Saul's character specifically, like it's the fact that he was unhappy his whole life, but it was the moment that he found out what was really happening that he was like, I can't, I'm out. He was like, I can deal with like not like having to pedal for energy, barely eating food, whatever. Like he could take all of that. But the moment that he found out the truth, he was like, you know what? Okay. I'm good. I want to go home.
Yeah. But one of the other things I want to mention, because we haven't really talked about Thorne yet, honestly, besides like just a little bit of his service level. I do like that when Saul tells Thorne what's going on, the audience doesn't immediately get to know. Because it does kind of make the ending a little bit more punchy for me. I like that they didn't just bury the twist in the middle, near the end of the movie, and instead saved it for the very last minute, because it does make that climax a little bit harder. It hits a bit harder for me, where it's like, what are they trying to keep hidden? Because this entire movie is based around the Soylent Corporation is hiding something. We don't know what the something is, but whatever it is, clearly they are willing to go through several degrees of murder to keep this secret a secret. And when he's getting cornered by Tab and all these other people that are like part of the security force for Soylent, and they're getting in this shootout. First off, Thorne, you're a very good shot, I might add. But secondly, when he finally manages to take Tab down inside of the church, by the way, which I thought was a great choice for that. But when he's like, he's been shot, he's bleeding, he's not exactly in the best physical condition, to be honest with you. And you finally get that conversation with him and Hatcher, which also Hatcher also played really well.
Fucking narc. He's a fucking narc. You know what? I wanted to talk about the ending because here's my thing. It was established that he was working to keep it hidden. Like he was working for Soylent. And then Thorne knew, right? He by the end, like by that last scene, he knew already, right? Because he knew that he was like because he was like, oh, you're getting paid. Who's paying you? Whatever. So he knew a little bit. So what I got from the end, because I kind of agree with you, Brooke. Like I in a way, I wish there was a little bit more in the end. But I understand. I think I understand what they were trying to do, and I want to know what your thoughts about the ending was. Because for me, the way I saw it is, he was telling, what's the name of the guy, the police guy, whatever.
Hatcher.
Hatcher was telling Hatcher to go tell the people at the is it exchange, like where they keep the books? Yeah. Tell him whatever, and you can see that Hatcher is like, yeah, sure, I will, and we know that he's not going to do that. So Thorne would have to count on the people that are in the church hearing what he's saying to do something, which to me implies that no one is actually going to do anything. The people, all the people like Saul and now him, like the people that know either are dead or are not doing anything, being paid off, whatever. And to me, what the movie is trying to say is that it kept going. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's not a happy kept going. We don't know.
It absolutely is not a happy ending in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. When you asked like what do you think about the ending, I was going to say exactly that. It's very clear that this is a cry for help that no one will actually hear and no one will actually do anything about it. And it's basically just like this idea of you can say as much as you want and you can be right and you can critique all of the world, but if no one's there to listen to you, nothing's going to change.
Can I just say something I really like about this movie is actually the credit sequence, because I think kind of has some interesting implications on the end of this movie.
Oh really? Okay, I didn't watch that.
Basically get the euthanasia sequence as the backdrop for the credits. So we get all of these pictures, basically the same pictures that Saul was seeing visuals, when he's going. And to me, it's kind of like they're killing Thorne. That's what they're doing. They are putting Thorne through the same process and they are getting rid of him. Because he's getting carted off on a stretcher, so theoretically he could be getting medical treatment. We never see anyone get medical treatment in this movie, but maybe
what kind of medical treatment? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it literally cuts straight from Soylent Green's people, bloody hand, to beautiful classical music playing over all of these images while the credits roll. I'm just gonna say this is a great use of credits, and I highly approve.
Because I thought he died anyway, because I thought that he was so hurt that he didn't die, we didn't see him die, but I thought he wouldn't survive with how much his injuries or whatever. But I think I see that more than anything else. What you said, Brooke. Yeah,
it makes sense.
I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to touch on my negatives of this movie because it's not a perfect movie, and we've mostly praised it today. My personal biggest problem is there are definitely times where this movie kind of meanders and it just takes its time getting to where it wants to go. But at the same time, there are other times where it completely just glosses over a plot point and it just moves from set piece to set piece. the pacing in this movie is not great, and I think it needs to cut out some of the extras and some of the fluff a little bit, and boost the plot in other areas and give us a little bit more time. There's like
I feel like there are things that we needed less of, and there were a few things that we needed a little more of, right?
Yeah,
we needed more Martha. I loved her.
Sure.
Although she needed to hide that spoon as soon as she realized.
Okay, can we talk? Okay, was I the only one that noticed that when the day that he went back there and like they were fighting, her reaction, was it late? Was it something in the editing or something? Because I swear to God, there was a scene where it was just like someone punched someone and she was like, like like the pause.
We had a millennial pause.
She absolutely did.
I'm not imagining.
I blame the edit. I blame the editing 100% for this. This feels very like old school editing. It was so
funny. Like that was the point of the movie where I just laughed. So I was like, that they did not.
Yeah, this reminds me of a lot of like the old school black and white Mexican movies that my grandpa likes to watch every so often. And whenever there is a fight, this kind of stuff happens. The same audio effects, there's a fight, and then they cut to someone, and it's like a full 3 seconds before they react. It's like, punch. Like, truly,
yes.
It takes so long sometimes. And, like, I think it's just a sign of the times. That's how it used to be.
But that was the only scene that I noticed something like that. So I will say, like, I didn't see it anywhere else. Besides what I mentioned about the fighting scenes not being great.
Yeah, but yeah, some of these scenes just kind of happen and they kind of just jump from moment to moment and like weird stuff. Like there's this scene where Thorne just finds a dead woman and her child on like outside.
That was so jarring. Like the mother like tied the child to her so she wouldn't run away. Like that was so strong. It was so fast, but it was
grabs the child who starts crying for their mommy.
And I believed it. Yeah, that felt real.
I would honestly not be shocked if that extra was actually that child's mother. That makes sense.
And playing dad and not telling the child that it's fake.
Charlie.
Yeah. 70s didn't have as strict rules for child actors. I'll just say that.
Yeah, true.
But when they take the kid into the church, and you just see how packed this church is, by the way, which is another really good thing. I don't know a movie that's had extras like this in a long time, that's had this many people just on screen at once. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like the mob scenes in World War Z when you have all of these zombies just on screen, only these weren't CGI enhanced. But I will never miss an opportunity to diss World War Z.
You are so real for that, though. You are so real for that.
But that just happens immediately after the shower scene. Like it's literally shower scene, dead body on church. Like,
but I think that's very like they're trying to make maybe I'm reading too much into it, but maybe they're trying to make us feel. You know that quote where it was like, "We rioted during the day, party during the night," something like that. I don't remember exactly the quote, but they were talking about like fighting for gay rights or liberation, or it was, I don't remember exactly the quote, but something about like, if you are going to fight a fight, you know what I mean? You also have to celebrate, like, otherwise you're going to go insane. You're not going to be able to fight the fight. So I feel like it's very that they were trying to show us like the two extremes of that world of like, it was so miserable that the small moments that they got to experience joy, they made the most out of it. So I feel like maybe they were trying to do that and make us feel that extreme of like good and bad. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
Yeah.
But
my other really big knock is I don't like the jump from Saul at the exchange to Saul immediately at the medical euthanasia clinic. It kind of feels a bit rushed. I wish there was like a little bit of time there to like, even if it was just a scene of like Saul walking to the medical euthanasia clinic. Like, if it was
like
a 10
pondering,
second-
just like that we could
Yeah.
see like a little bit of his like thoughts and reaction to the information.
You could have 10 seconds of Saul walking through the street and have it be connected to literally nothing.
You know what I would
be
like?
Mhm.
If we had a scene of him just like after he did everything, if it was just a scene of him, not even like walking out of the table, but just like from that table scene to just him walking out of the door and the door closing behind him, and then like his face going out of that room. Like it would be just like literally 5 seconds. Like that would be enough for me, I think. Just so we could connect it with what he was feeling in that moment, because I feel like that's what was missing. Like, what was the character feeling?
Yeah.
To make him go to that extreme. Yeah. One small thing that I wanted to bring up, because it's something that I just thought it was jarring, not funny, but like humorous. It was when the bodyguard shot the priest in confessional. That was crazy. That was so crazy.
Months since my last confession.
Like, wow.
It has a little bit.
They really went there.
It has a little bit of singing telegram energy. I'll just say that. Not entirely.
Oh,
singing
it does.
But just a smidgen of singing telegram energy.
Yeah, it does. You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if any of you had the same issue with me, where sometimes if people look even remotely alike, I kind of get them mixed up as characters sometimes. So when the bodyguard was doing that scene, for a moment, I thought that was Thorne. And I'm like, why did he do? Oh, never mind. It's the other guy. It threw me off so hard for a second, because I think in certain angles they kind of look similar.
I noticed, like on the way when he was on the way in, I thought it was Thorne, and then when he was coming out, I was like, oh, it's the bodyguard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like two middle-aged or like 50 whatever, like white men that look similar, that have like the same, like similar physique, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I get them. Oh my god!
And they both wear hats. I think most of the movies are like, the hair doesn't help at all. They just look incredibly similar. The only time you can tell them apart is when they're standing next to each other, and even then, you have to guess a little bit.
By the way, we touched on it earlier. The scene where they are shooting at each other in, well, I guess by this point, Thorne doesn't have a gun. But when they go into the room where everybody's sleeping, okay, the one thing about me is do not mess with me while I'm sleeping. So if one of these people flipped over my bunk bed while I was sleeping, guess what? Problem solved. They're both dead. I'm making sure of it. Oh,
you are starving. You are starving, David. You don't have energy for that.
I might find it.
I mean, we're already eating people. I think we can just cut the Soylent Green and just start biting people at that point.
So you just found dinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, truly.
I one other thing I wanted to touch on while I'm thinking about it. I really like when we go to the market, you know, because Tuesday is Soylent Green Day. When everybody's there buying all the stuff, it's not just the Soylent products that people are like, in terms of like red, yellow, green. They're there. People are selling Soylent crumbs to people, and like
Soylent
these
bread.
like pretty patty ass Soylent buns, right? Like, and they're just selling these other Soylent products. And you take a second and you're like, this is how some people are living. They are only eating crumbs of processed food. That is how they are existing. And then you think about, okay, well, why did that woman die? She probably starved to death. Why are so many people going to this medical euthanasia clinic? Because life is shit. Why are people not leaving New York? Where else are they going to go? Are they going to go to another big city? Because we find out that all the other cities are just the same as New York. Are they going to go to the country? Well, they aren't letting people in because they're doing pretty fine.
No, that's the good land, baby. No.
Yeah. So I do like that they address some of the things that I would be thinking if I hadn't watched this movie a few times before, of like, why don't they just leave? Well, where are they going to go? You know, and like they answer questions that I think other dystopian movies and properties probably should answer. And they do it in a really great way. We haven't really touched on it either, but Charlton Heston, I think, did a really great job in this movie. He's carrying so much of this load on his back. Is he a bit melodramatic? Yes. Is this entire movie a bit melodramatic? Yes. But like,
it was good overall, but there were like a couple scenes that I was like, ooh, that's not like, I was like, the performance, the acting, you know. But overall, it was good. It just wasn't great, you know what I mean? But it was pretty good. I wasn't gonna mention it, Brooke, but since you did, because it's so bleak, because it's like I said, the first note that I wrote about this movie is this is way too real right now. Around the time that we had the pleasure of have our version of Trump here in Brazil, Bolsonaro, during 2018 and 2022. Before that and after that time period, our country is not on the like hunger list anymore. There's like a hunger list of like where they categorize the countries or whatever. And we were in that hunger map during his presidency. So much so that there are like, because I remember during that time watching the images on the news, people were like the way that they were in line for the crumbs in the movie, people were in line at butcher shops to get bones. Not to get for free, to buy bones to eat and make soup or whatever. So like, that was like 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, it's very real.
2022.
And I felt a lot of feelings. Yeah,
it's crazy. And this movie really made me like appreciate the life that I have, honestly. It genuinely made me like appreciate the fact that like I have food in my house. I have a shower.
Things could be worse.
Things could be so much worse. It genuinely, like, if you are ever feeling like so depressed, just remember that you don't live in the world of Soylent Green, and then you'll be happy. Because you have a bed. You probably have a bed. You probably have a shower. You probably have some food in your fridge right now. You probably have a shelter. Some of these people don't. So it genuinely made me like appreciate like the life that I have right now. Because sure, life may be shitty now, but I don't live in the world of Soylent Green. So maybe like
if I did, I would be sold. You know what I mean? I want to go home, baby. I would be so in line for that.
My favorite color is purple, and my favorite type of music is classic pop. I don't know.
Slut pop. Imagine dying to listening to slut pop.
Can you just imagine somebody goes to that euthanasia clinic and it's like, I love hyper pop, and then they're just listening to Brat while they look through all of these pictures.
I'm just leaving that life undone. Just laying down, looking at beautiful flowers, and you just hear Charlie XCX. I want to guess the color of your underwear.
No, like just imagine they have different sets of pictures for different genres of music. So it's just like the hyperpop album is a bunch of like drag queen performances.
Oh my god, you know what I would choose? The visuals for like Windows. Remember like the Windows Media thing where you would play music and it would have like the little visuals playing in the I don't remember the name, but those visuals, yes, that I'll be tripping on. Or like the DVD that goes like this and you're waiting for it to hit the corner.
And then it never hits the corner. Yeah.
And then it never does.
It does sometimes. Sometimes it does.
No, but you die before it hits the corner.
As it's about to hit the corner, you die.
When it will hit the corner.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to go ahead and ask, because we are, at that time, if anyone has anything they would like to add, speak now or forever hold your piece of Soylent Green.
Forever hold the breath that we're not going to have for too long because,
Real. Okay, that was the one note I had. We don't really get the whole air thing addressed in this movie because we have a tree sanctuary.
You see a lot of people with masks in a way.
Yeah,
in some scenes.
Yeah. But still.
They got that part right.
Yeah, but like that one tree sanctuary is like clearly it's like 3 or 4 trees. That's not enough trees for
Well,
New
maybe
York.
a lot of people are dying from like what they're breathing as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe there's another
That's what
way
I would
around
assume.
it for these people. I don't know. It's just another thing that I did think about a little bit was like, that's got to be a lot of carbon dioxide in the air. Maybe that's why it's a green sky, David. A lot of carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
Yeah, notoriously green.
Notoriously
Carbon
green.
dioxide.
Carbon emissions, if you've ever seen them, they're bright green, like in this movie.
Iron oxide, it's rust. It's turning brown and then green.
You're not
But-
wrong, I guess.
So, anybody have anything else they would like to add before we wrap up?
I could talk about this movie for hours, but like that, just like with how much it really made me think, even like now talking about it more. But I feel like we don't have another hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We don't.
For the record, this is a 90-minute movie, and we have talked about it for this long. So feel free to go watch it. It's a great movie.
And it still doesn't feel like enough, but hey.
I would agree. So, it is now time for the part of the program we must discuss scores. So I'll go first, as this did come out of my bracket. I went back and forth on my score a few times. I actually changed my rating on Letterboxd multiple times, like in the immediate aftermath of watching this movie again. I did kind of settle in between where I was thinking, and I did go with 4.5 out of 5. The only reason it loses that half a point is because of the pacing. It is paced pretty weird, and I think it needs to, tighten up its screenplay a little bit. And, not saying shave things off, but move things around and add some things where they need to be there and get rid of some things that don't need to be there. But otherwise, I think pretty much every performance in this movie is good to great, and I think this is just a really cinematic look at what the world could be like if we don't pay attention and start trying to take care of it, and also if we let capitalism run unchecked. So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
David?
Me next.
David next.
Okay. Yes. So I did like this movie. I do feel like I had heard a little bit too much hype in the weeks going into this. And I didn't, not just you. And I didn't have the ideal viewing circumstances. It was way too early in the morning when I watched this. But I do feel like this is a movie that if I go back and revisit it throughout the years, it could grow in my estimation each time. That just happened with Rear Window. I gave that a 4 the first time I watched it. I rewatched it last week, gave it a 4.5. Maybe that could happen with this. I'm giving it a 3.5 for now.
A very reasonable score by David Healy.
Very respectful.
Very
Eduardo?
mindful.
Very demure.
So I really like this movie. I think this movie, as I said, does what it's trying to do very well. I think the social commentary that we're throwing out there is really good, and as we've stated, hits too close to home, which is always unfortunate. But I really like a lot of this movie. I finally fulfilled the prophecy, which feels amazing. But of course, as we've stated, there are some little issues with the pacing, and also this movie made me root for a cop, and I will never forgive this movie for that.
I never even thought about that
Just
aspect
ACAB.
of it. Oh my god!
Just ACAB, absolutely.
And not
So
even
for
a
that
female
reason-
cop, which would
No.
no.
A straight
Oh my
white male cop.
Well,
So I'm mad at this
sexually
movie for that.
ambiguous. You can't tell me him and Saul didn't have a little something going on. I'm just saying.
It felt more like a father-son relationship to me. And if you have a father-son relationship with someone, it would be weird if they would,
Yeah.
Anyways, as I said, I'm mad at this movie because it made me root for a cop. And for that reason and that reason alone, it's a 4 out of 5.
See, I hadn't even thought of that. It's not gonna change my score, but like that makes me uncomfortable because anyway. I debated between scores a little bit because of the technical aspects that I mentioned, the negative ones. And to me, it's just I think the narrative, like the story, is so good. I don't know, maybe if this movie was like had a bigger budget and was produced like at a different time, it would have been like so much better, but it's still with the budget and when it was made and everything. I think they did a fantastic job. But still, I feel like I think the story is so great that the movie could have been much better because the story is so great. You know what I mean? So I'm taking off 1 star because of the some technical aspects of the movie. So I give this a 4 out of 5.
You know, maybe they should remake it, and I bet Scarlett Johansson could play the green gas.
I was so confused where you were going with this. Yeah, but
I would like to know
Johansson,
the collection of scores of 4, 4, 3.5, and 4.5 has occurred on this podcast before, as recently as 2 weeks ago for Heather's. So this is the exact same set of scores that Heather's received, with the only difference being that me and Eduardo switched our scores. So
right, every time the person who picks or whose movie it is gives it a 4.5. So
yeah.
we'll see if that happens
So this
next week.
month, yeah. Oh, interesting.
So we are doing a pretty good job getting through March Madness month. So if you're interested in checking out Soylent Green, it is not available for streaming, but it is available for rent on YouTube and other places. Hopefully it'll be available on streaming at some point. MGM, they're kind of weird, but hopefully it'll be on a streaming service in the near future. Or maybe they'll put it for free with ads on YouTube like it already should be, because this is a movie that came out literally 50 plus years ago, but whatever. So
Hint, just a hint for people. You can search for things in the Internet Archive. I find a lot of stuff that is not on Streamio there, so that's, you know. If you want to look for something.
Nudge. You can find things if you need to. Beside the point, let us know what you think
didn't
about.
Hear from me.
You didn't hear it from River. But let us know what you think about Soylent Green below if you've seen it. If you've not, go watch it. I think you're probably going to enjoy it. But next time, as we wrap up March Madness month, we are finally going to our bottom left quadrant in this bracket.
Bottom?
That's a surprise.
Well,
from what I know about David, I wouldn't have expected that. Huh.
me neither.
well, Julie, we're going to the international wing of the March Madness bracket. David, cue us up with the introduction.
Yeah, so it has been voted on, and we are going to be watching Io Capitano, which I'm very excited about. I've only seen it once, so I'm excited to rewatch it. Plus, I want you all to be on the watch for a moment I said during the March Madness bracket. I said this has one of the most simultaneously beautiful scenes and heartbreaking scenes. So I want to see if you all can find what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Oh, I'm worried. I'm so nervous.
He's giving us homework. What is the scene?
You'll know. I think you'll know.
David's already getting emotional just thinking about it.
Yeah, totally.
So next week we are going to, I believe, for the first time, cover a film not in English? Question mark?
I think so.
We did
Akira.
I was going to say ages ago we did Akira. It's not on this channel. Which, by the way, we will be revisiting Akira at some point, and it will be on this channel at some point. I want that.
Don't you worry about it.
It's in the archive.
It deserves 5 stars from everyone involved here, and it will.
We need to find a day where Eduardo is not sick, okay?
Yeah.
So we can rewatch it.
Yes. We can watch it right now.
Akira's a much easier watch the second time. But
Song of the Sea, we watched the English version, but it's also not in English. The Irish version.
There are
the Irish version.
Yeah.
I believe the original dub of Song of the Sea is mostly English, though, if I'm not mistaken.
The one we watched is in English. Yeah.
But I can say this: this is the first exclusively non-English film that we are covering on the podcast.
But not last.
Not last. We have things coming down the pipe. But keep your eyes out for Io Capitano next week as we wrap up March Madness month. But like we did when we were moving out of Black History Month in February, we're going to give you a little bit of a teaser for what may be coming in April. So all I'm going to say is this. One of the four of us is very excited for April. I'm not going to say who or why.
Only one of us.
One of us is extremely excited, and the other ones are kind of like, okay.
But the rest holds a lot of power during the month of April.
Yeah, everyone else is dreading April, but one person is very excited.
So, who is it? What are they doing? We'll find out next time. But until then, and also I can use they for all three of us, and it doesn't matter.
Yay!
Because it's not me.
It's not David. But tune in next week to find out what we're doing in April and watch our review of Io Capitano. So thank you so much for joining us today. But we have unfortunately ran out of popcorn, chugged down our soft drink, and no one ever eats more than one soft pretzel. So we will see you next time, everybody, and we hope you have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.